He is unpopular. He is historically unpopular. He is the least popular president in the history of modern polling at this point in his presidency.
Is that true?
Look at this. A new Harvard-Harris survey shows President Trump with a 52% approval rating. That's after his first month back in office, and that's majority support. Trump also has strong support with key voting blocs. Look at this. 45% of independents, 47% of women, 50% of Hispanics, and 50% of suburbanites.
Oh, so it's not true. Maybe this is why people at MSNBC keep getting fired. Could you keep lying to your audience?
The country does not like him. They do not like what he is doing. They do not like the people that he is putting in place. The more he talks about specific things he wants you to associate with him, the more the American public hates those things specifically.
Not true. And so the polling shows that that's exactly not the truth. In fact, a new poll just out 2 days ago shows that most Americans overwhelmingly approve of the job that DOGE is doing to cut spending in the United States. And a huge percentage of Democrats, upwards of 60% of Democrats, support DOGE. So try running against that. And almost over 90% of Republicans support DOGE, cutting government waste, fraud, and abuse. Who would vote against that? So what she's telling her audience is a total lie.
The more the country shows that, the better chance that Democrats will get stronger and faster and more bold in their opposition, and the better chance that Republicans might start to join them.
Yeah. So, the massive fraud that they just uncovered at the NSA, the CIA, and the DIA, which showed that all of these members of those intelligence agencies were using these secret server chats to talk about all sorts of nasty stuff, like orgies and all sorts of stuff, the intelligence community. So all of those people have just now been fired. So these are the things you think that Democrats should speak out and defend? Good luck with that.
It is that simple. There's
that simple.
No magic bullet. There's no shortcut in standing up for democracy. When you're standing up for democracy, you know what's in your toolkit? Oh, look, democracy. That's it. This is how it works. And the hardest part of it is the hardest part of it to build, the hardest part of it to get on your side is public opinion, right?
Yeah, because that's why propaganda works so well. So when all of this money was flowing from USAID into the Associated Press, to Politico, and other news organizations that were pushing out propaganda works when it has a money source. But then when Trump and Elon Musk came in and actually cut off that money source, now the propaganda is drying up. And there are reports, in fact, that even like the viewers who were at least showing up for Joy Reid's show were fake viewers, that those numbers weren't even actually real. So your propaganda, the only way that you can convince people is with fake news and propaganda. But when it's been exposed, it doesn't work anymore, and you lose elections.
But on this guy, we're only 1 month in, and public opinion is definitely already there on this guy.
Yeah, except not really. And except not in the most recent polling, and except not in where the DOGE polling is that shows Americans overwhelmingly support this.
That no president has ever seen before. And that is really good for people who are opposed to him and people who are trying to construct a regime of opposition to him that includes all comers. Right? Public opinion is against him. That is irreplaceable and necessary and huge. And public opinion being against him, mark my words, is only going to get worse for him.
By the way, these are the same polls that told us that Kamala Harris was leading Trump in certain polls. These are the polls you're going off of that also said that it was neck and neck on November 4th. You're relying on these same pollsters. That's fascinating. That's really fascinating. And then how'd that turn out for you? It was a landslide. It was a landslide. Your polls were way off.
Because, again, it's simple. Look at what he's doing.
Yeah.
Just look at these headlines from the past 48 hours. Headline: Trump team plans deep cuts at office that funds recovery from big disasters. The Trump administration plans to all but eliminate the office that oversees America's recovery from the largest disasters, raising questions about how the United States will rebuild from hurricanes, wildfires, and other calamities. The administration plans to cut the staff of that office by 84%.
Yeah, because under Biden, the recovery at the Maui wildfires has been extraordinary. Like, this office has done an amazing job. This office has done an amazing job in East Palestine, Ohio, where we had a massive chemical leak. They did amazing work there. And so too did they in North Carolina after the hurricanes, and in Florida and eastern Tennessee, where people were still living in tents as a result of this office that helps fund recovery from big disasters. Well, it turns out all of the DEI programs and the waste, fraud, and abuse that was being funneled out of FEMA into NGOs that were actually facilitating illegal immigration in the United States. So tens of millions of dollars from the FEMA offices were being funneled into places like Catholic Charities. We did that story on the show. Catholic Charities, which is, of course, a corrupt NGO and has been facilitating the illegal immigration into the United States and the child sex trafficking. So, boo-hoo, I'm sorry. They do not help with America's recoveries. I've witnessed it firsthand. They are a disaster.
Headline: Trump administration cancels federal contract for 9/11 research. Headline: Trump administration cuts.
Why do we need 9/11 research? Like, just release the files. Why do we need more research? We already know that this was a deep state job, an inside job on 9/11. Like, why do we need more research on it? Cuts office to do 9/11 research. Why don't you just come forward with the files? Let us know. Let us know how the CIA was involved in this. It's very interesting. We've done a whole deep dive episodes from whistleblowers on that exact story. So why do we have to spend money on it?
9/11 Survivors Fund. Republicans join Democrats in rebuke. Headline: Long lines and canceled rentals. Firings bring chaos to national parks. Quote at Yost.
You know, the thing is, you're going to make some mistakes. So, yeah, if there's issues at national parks and they need to walk back some of these things, great, do it. But, you know, you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Let's be honest here. So you make a few mistakes in this massive cleaning of house, fine. You know, like in a construction site, walking through a new construction house, there's going to be mud on the hardwood floors as you're building this house. There's going to be mud on the new carpet as you're building the house out. There's going to be some paint that dripped on the floor that you got to clean up a little bit later. That happens. It's not going to be perfect. I would much rather have you go back and say, okay, we made a few mistakes on the National Park Service, but I don't even know if that's even accurate or not. Long lines to get into a national park. There's always long lines on holiday weekends, by the way. So what they're highlighting here is President's Day weekend, when everything is packed, everyone is going out of town for a long weekend on President's Day holiday. There's always long lines getting into national parks on those days, on the holidays. Try going there on July 4th, for crying out loud. But they blame it on Trump.
On Friday, the Trump administration fired the only locksmith on staff.
Oh
He
my
was
God.
the sole employee with the keys and
That's the outrage you should bring to the American people right there. Like, hang your hat on that. Trump fired the only locksmith that worked at Yosemite National Park that could unlock a gate. Americans are going to be so furious, they're going to go out and vote for Kamala Harris next time. Okay.
institutional knowledge needed to rescue visitors from locked restrooms.
Oh, my God.
The wait to enter Arizona's Grand Canyon National Park this past weekend was twice as long as usual.
See, she's got nothing else, so she's spending like 2 minutes just on this point alone.
Administration let go 4 employees who worked at the south entrance, where roughly 90% of the park's nearly 5 million annual visitors pass through. At Gettysburg National Military Park in Pennsylvania, last week's widespread layoffs gutted the team that manages reservations for renting historic farmhouses. Visitors received notifications that their reservations have been canceled indefinitely.
Oh, my God. You mean somebody had like an Airbnb issue at Gettysburg National Battlefield? I know that's tragic, but how about cutting off the funding to all of these NGOs that's facilitating the hundreds of thousands of children that have gone missing and in sex trafficked across the United States? Where do you come down on that? I can tell you where I come down on it. Somebody had their Airbnb canceled at Gettysburg National Battlefield, or we're cutting off the funding for all of the illegal waste, fraud, and abuse at FEMA that was facilitating the illegal immigration into the United States. I'm going to go with the latter.
Here's a popular one. Deep cuts to the Center for Alzheimer's and Related Dementias at the National Institutes of Health. This is a research center that is actually named for a Republican senator.
Oh, my God.
Its full name is the Roy Blunt Center for Alzheimer's and Related Dementias.
Yeah, the NIH, the National Institutes of Health under Dr. Fauci, has been doing some amazing work. We should just ignore the NIH. Don't even look there. I'm sure there's no fraud and abuse there under Dr. Fauci's organization.
Donald Trump is gutting that.
Oh, my God.
That's going to be a really popular cut because obviously that's a lot of waste, right?
Yeah. All of the money that was funneled out of the NIH into the Wuhan Institute of Virology so they could do bat research on COVID viruses or coronaviruses. I'm really upset about these cuts. Again, go out to the American people and start telling about this. See how they respond.
Research to try to cure Alzheimer's? Who wants that? Well done, President Trump. Getting rid of all that waste.
You're an idiot.
What people with Alzheimer's contribute anyway, right?
You're an idiot.
Who cares? Have you ever had any trouble getting in touch with the IRS when you needed to? Have you ever needed, or like getting something from the IRS website or like calling into their call center, using their chatbot or anything? Have you ever needed help from the IRS, needed a form? Maybe you needed some instructions on how to file something. Have you ever called in to one of those helplines? Because it is tax season now. And today, the IRS fired nearly 7,000 people who work at the IRS.
Are you forgetting to mention the tens of thousands that were just hired under Biden to go after poor and middle class Americans? To get them on ridiculous BS? No, she won't mention that, of course. Well, let's see if she does.
So this year, over these next few weeks, if you have any problems, any glitches, any delays, any trouble getting through, thank you, Donald Trump.
Yeah. So the 82,000 that Biden hired in the past 2 years, armed IRS agents, by the way, they were given weapons so they could go out into the field basically and harass Americans. So Biden hired I think it was 82,000. So Trump just cut 7,000. Okay. Tell the truth, but they won't. They won't. They can't tell the truth. They can't.